you did that. I would assume, I might assume that someone from the painting background might have this whole way of getting into color in a different way, or might have a whole way of, understanding the origin of some of this sculpture in surrealism in a way that might be different from, someone who's in ceramics, or, so there's different places that I think your expertise could lead us, and as well as similarities as well.
I really appreciate the statement. I think that's what's wonderful. Yeah, thank you. 刚刚那个 Richard 他所讲的，因为Walter 问他有关于来自于不同的创作背景的人，那去面对这个单一材质的时候，他用什么方式来去谈？那其实对 Richard 来说，他说他在教学的进行当中，身为一个绘画的老师，他教的是透过怎么绘画的工艺，这个可能用工艺来去解释不太对，在英文里面它就叫做是 craft， 可以他会用这个从技术的角度让学生可以去进行掌控这个材料，去传达概念。那其实，在当代的艺术环境里面，大家普遍性都认为技术这个部分很早就被抛弃，不去论坛的。那其实，在我自己本身教学的学校也有同样的情况。陶瓷的学生他曾经想要去选绘画的老师的课。可是上课的第一天，老师跟他讲说：“对不起，我不能收你，因为我不教陶瓷的学生。”好，我觉得在很多反而比较小地域的这种彼此之间利益冲突的地方，我们比较没有办法用一个比较开放的心态去针对艺术的问题来去谈论艺术。所以我觉得刚刚 Richard 他所讲的这个内容是我们可以好好的深思的，尤其在当代的这个环境里面，科技介入。那我觉得在陶瓷领域，我们第一个要去决定说，我们面对要付出高度劳力参与的这个创作过程，为什么？你为什么要选择这个过程？你为什么要透过那么辛苦的劳动过程去参与创作？这在其他媒材是不太经常发生的。我所谓创作是包含了你去准备材料、制作，甚至于烧成，这些都是高度劳力参与的。这在其他创作媒材里面并不常见。可是这个是会变成我们要去思考，为什么你要去选择这材料的第一个态度。对我来说，这也是我们给每一个学生第一个要去思考的问题。不然传达艺术不见得只透过陶土，你可以去用绘画去传达艺术，里面也都是很方便的，它彼此没有冲突的。库主，你有问题？
Richard, it's often said about ceramics that the critical writing in ceramics is really poor. And I'm just wondering, or almost non-existent. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, what you think is missing and how it could be improved.
Well, it's very difficult to answer.
This was actually to Richard. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to hear your answer, though. Critical writing in ceramics. What's missing? Enough people. I think any kind of commentary is essentially a dialogue, and to have a dialogue, there've got to be enough participants. And I think Mr. Chan here referred to the fact that globally this is not a unique problem. I think also Walter referred to Peter Shaldau. Now, Peter Shaldau is arguably my favourite critic, and he's a favourite critic of mine because he doesn't feel like he defends territories or makes cases. He is a very eloquent man who has a point of view, and I think, if anything, and I say this with slight acknowledgement of what I presented this morning, is that what's missing in critical commentary in ceramics is a point of view. It's only through that kind of debate that we can raise kind of the difficult questions around where innovation and technology and these sorts of things that help drive the development of practice exists.
By point of view, you mean a point of view outside of ceramics?
No.
Or from a wider perspective? Or
I think a point of view from within ceramics, and that is people who are knowledgeable, who, are equipped with the kind of enthusiasm and desire to argue and advocate and to be a provocateur from within. Peter Sheldale is someone who, as Walter says, can talk about anything and everything, and does. And he has very interesting things to say about ceramics. But I consider him to be a slight maverick. I think the field itself needs far more critical writing that is embedded within the history and knowledge and traditions of ceramic practice.
What do you think about ceramic practitioners writing and taking on the role of criticism? Because I think, because there are so few people writing, like for instance in Australia or elsewhere as well, oftentimes you find practitioners and teachers or professors writing about or trying to take on that role. What do you think about that?
I love that idea. I'll hand the pens out because in a way, any type of practice, creative practice, those who have not had any understanding of what it is to be a practitioner themselves often fail miserably at, they can come up with some interesting ideas, but they fail miserably at being able to truly account for the nature of that practice. I think you only, it's what that comment I made before, how can you trust anybody who is writing about the qualities of tea who don't know themselves and have not steeped in that experience of knowing that for themselves? So I think to begin with, to encourage and to broaden critical writing, please, practitioners, put your hands up and start now, because you will bring insights to know that, because essentially practice is unruly. It's not preordained or preconceived or theorized. It's a thing that happens in the moment. It's a thing that happens in a very physical, active way. And unless you've experienced that, the trauma of that, the complete surprise of that, and especially, ceramics, what comes out of a kiln and what that can do to you. It can destroy you in a moment, and it can uplift you simultaneously. That experience, I think, is the only way in which, from a professional point of view, I think practitioners can be very articulate about what it is what is good practice. I'm not sure it's the sole answer, but I think it's a good place to start.
Thank you.
Walter, we have 10 minutes, so you have 2 seconds. Go. No, just kidding. Oh, wait.
Okay, I try to be quick. I was going to ask Jacques, you had a limited time, of course, to put together your reading. I know that. What I would be really interested in doing with you is how your readings of the work, which I liked, some of them don't resonate with me, some of them resonated immediately, which I thought was interesting. What I'd like to do sometime is have a conversation with you in front of the work, and how when the sense of what the work is doing arises for you in the little brief statement there, how do you account for it in the work itself? Like, that's what I would have liked to have heard more from you. It's just like, where does it arise in the work? In the feelings that you have about it, where does it arise in the work? How do we account for them in the physical manifestation then, going back to that, of the work? I'd like to have those kinds of conversations in front of them. Like, particularly the one about smell. That one, I said, yeah, I get that. But I want to try to start to account for where that comes from, in the object itself.
I had no concept coming to my mind, so I just try to feel something,
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. But I think you could do that with hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also one difficulty of this exercise is because of the lack of time. We should spend a lot of time that we don't have. Sure. So it's a major difficulty. Also for the critics, they have to write so much and produce words, and very often. So I really appreciate your position about the practitioner who can write. But I feel this more as a comment or as an additional participation to also a really activity from people, like in anthropology, you know. You cannot analyze your own, what you are from inside. Like the fish, you cannot speak about the water, he's inside, you know, too much. So also I would like to say that there is not enough people trained and interested, and the market is not enough, like in film or literature. So there's at many levels there is a problem. Very often the critics are not paid or not paid enough, and the newspaper cannot pay more, and the picture, they would like beautiful picture, but it's not only about the beautiful picture, you know. So in other fields, sometimes the critic, they begin as a critic and they go to practice. For example, the new wave in France, filmmaker, come from the critic, and they decided just the film was bad. What they had to say was not okay, so they decide to do them by themselves. So there is not, as we have said, there is not a final position for that. Can be come from inside, and has to come also from outside too.
好 ，Thank you so much. Yeah, I think we're a little bit over time, but it's okay. I think we have really good discussion. 我们早上基本两位讲师都讲完，那我们觉得讨论也蛮热烈的。那我想在总结之前，我想讲一句话，让各位你的反应是什么？1、2、3、4、6、7、8、9，那各位的反应是什么？大声一点。少了5，你为什么知道少了5？对，我想讲的就是说，今天整个过程我们在谈这个概念陶瓷，它是在一个逻辑里面去运作，所以我们习惯了。做陶瓷的人，我们已经习惯了这个逻辑是像我刚刚讲的这个数字，它已经在我们身体里面，我们逻辑上是这样去思考的。可是你为什么知道5是不见的？因为这个逻辑一旦被打破的时候，你知道它有问题。那所以说，我觉得整个这个展览或者是我们这样的讨论，最好的功能是什么？让你知道不存在的是什么。那你有那个冲动想要去了解那不存在为什么不存在，那这个功能就达到。那我觉得 Richard 跟 Jack 他今天让我们知道很多原本我们不知道不存在的，那我们开始去知道了解说这不存在的，对我们来讲也是同样一个必须了解的过程。我们再次掌声谢谢他们。